Page 49, the pool is deep. On page 48, they talk about a new ledger line note for the bass clef, and that's one ledger line below the bass clef, and that is an E. You should already know two ledger lines below bass clef because that's a C. C is kind of in the middle because you got middle C's between the stabs. It's on the ledger line between the stabs. And then these C's are on spaces in the stabs, and then the next C's up are two ledger lines, either below bass or above treble, but the C is kind of in the middle. Well, an E is just one ledger line. And they also talk about all the other notes down here. I've talked about this before. If you look at the bottom of page 48, and you see all those notes and all those ledger lines, I can't look at those ledger lines and know how many there are. I can do three ledger lines. I can see up to three. I know at a glance I can see there's three of them, but when it starts getting more than that, they all get jumbled. I don't know how many there are. So I have to stop and figure them out. Now, in my opinion, and you do it however you want, but in my opinion, you should memorize the notes up to three ledger lines above or below either staff. So I can go, I know that third ledger line below is an A. I can glance at it and I know there's three of them. But when it gets more than that, so I would not worry about memorizing any of these other notes down here, lower than that. Lower than A, no, don't bother. And you can go lower than C. C isn't, because on a piano, you got a B and an A on it, so you can go another ledger line down. I just think it's kind of a waste of trying it because I can't tell how many ledger lines there are. So each time I get them, I have to stop and figure it out, and then I write in the name of the note so I don't have to figure it out again. That's how I approach it. You will approach it however you see fit. People are different. They use different approaches. Now let's talk about what this pool is doing here on page 49. Treble and bass clef. No sharps or flats in the key signature. When the key is C major, make sure you do the C major scale, right? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. 4/4 time signature. I see a bunch of quarter notes and eighth notes. Think we can handle that. Hands appear to be moving around a little bit. Let's take the right hand first to make sure we got our fingering worked out. They don't give you any fingering. You can do anything you want. So I need this note and this note. Which fingers I use? Well, I can use these. I can use these. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I got a variety of choices here on fingering I want to use. So how do I decide what fingering to use? Well, I don't want to move my hand anymore than I have to, so I look ahead. What's coming? I see I got this, so I got all these notes, and then I got one of these coming up here. I got this, and in the third line, I'm here. So I guess I'm in this position. So that's where it is. So I'm going to use 2 and 5 at the beginning. And that's how I go about figuring out what fingers do I need. So I'm 2 and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Isn't this fun? Second line. Stay right there. Last two measures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. You can bring the second finger down. If you don't mind being up in here, you can use thumb, but I don't want to stay out here. And remember the rule for accidentals. It's good for the rest of the measure for that staff. So both of those D's are sharped. And then the third line, I'm here. I cross over it for one note. There's other ways we could finger it where we don't have to cross over, but we need the practice. Let's just do that. That's fine. And then you come up here, same thing, an octave up here. And here, now, end of the third line. Here, if you don't want to be up in here, then we need to play that here. Well, if I'm going to play that, I don't want to use second finger for the E. So I'm going to use thumb instead. Now I can come over. I do this a lot. Here, it lets me keep my hand out here. So that last measure, the third line is here, and thumb here. And then the last line, you're coming down here, got time. It's 1/4 now. And then a thumb, bring the thumb under, reach up to the E, and then come down 1 and 2. And I use 1 and 2 because I don't have to move my hand as far. If I use some other finger, I got to come down further. So it's here. Yeah. Left hand, we're sort of in this position, but then we got to go to this position and this position and this position, and we're in this area, but we're going to kind of crawl around a little bit. So it starts out here. Reach up thumb. Now we're in this position. Now stretch out. Now we're back to where we were. Now come down with the second finger. Now we're in this position. And then thumb. And then 3 ledger lines below. That's an A. You need to memorize that one. And then an A. I use 2 and 1 there. Just because I don't have to move quite as far. If I use some other finger on that, I got to come up further. The hand comes further. So I'm only coming to here. So it's and then back down again, same finger. Second line, second measure. We can stay here this time because we don't have that low A. And then it's a B, down. Then third line, I'm going to use 5 and 2 because I have this coming up. I don't want to connect them. So it's a 5 and 2 and a 3, 1. Then we get treble clef. We're going to do the same notes up here. And then the last, at the end of the third line, just bring the thumb up here. And then the last line to come back down like you were. Same fingering as you did on the first line. And then down here. So we're moving around a little bit. The music's getting trickier and trickier. So put the hands together and let's see what mess we have here. You have here, this is fine. Let's go to the third measure where you're here, then here. Now I could do all of these in one hand position, but this is fine. You just have to practice this move. Okay, in the second line, third measure, it's here. And then the third line is here. These fingers. And both hands come up together. You're going to have to just lift up and move here. You may have to practice that. Going from here to here. You got to know which fingers are involved and where you're going. Here, and then you lift up for the last line. Leave the right hand where it is at first. Get the left hand going. As the left hand's playing, you got time to get the right hand down here where you want to go eventually. It's tricky. Anyway, work out the hands and then go back through and get rid of the hesitations. You keep it slow is fine, but no hesitations. And then we add the articulation. Well, this is fairly connected. You can't really connect it. You got to move, but lift up. But otherwise, you're trying to connect them. In the third line, it's... But I can connect the left hand too. Lift up for the phrase and connect. Yeah, it's fairly connected. Now on the fermatas, hold them out as long as you think it feels right. On these holds, the end of the third line, that one, whatever feels right. If I do it with a metronome, I'll hold it 4 counts instead of 2. I just double the value. And then the last line, the last 2 measures, the quarter note, here, I'll hold it 2 counts instead of 1. And then the last half note I'll hold up for 4 counts instead of 2. I just double the value because I need to stay with the metronome. But when you're just playing it, you just feel how long it should be held and then go on. What feels right to you. What you're going to find is what feels right is actually a certain number of beats. Because even when you hold like this, you still feel a beat. And so does the audience. So anybody listening is still going to feel a beat. So you're going to end up holding at a certain number of beats. It could be 2 beats or 4 beats or 6 beats or whatever it is. And then you'll go on. But you won't know how many beats you've held it because you're not counting. You're not thinking beats. You're just holding it. And then you'll go on. Now the dynamics, P for piano is soft. Whatever you think soft is. And then third line, you come up to mezzo piano, or sort of soft. That's the right hand. This left hand needs to be in the background. Then we're going to echo that on the third measure. PP, pianissimo, very soft. The left hand is super duper soft. And if you play this soft enough, when you get to that fermata, you just wait and let the sound die away. And then you go on. And then you're back to soft in the last line like you were in the first line. Now speed, andante is just a nice gentle stroll. It's not the speed I'm talking about, it's the feel of it. If that feels too fast, slow it down a little bit. It's whatever feels right. Take a look at the third line here. What feels right in that speed? If you can find something like that that feels right, some passage in the piece that feels good, then use that speed for the piece. Now they've added pedal. Okay, let's understand what the pedal is doing. What we're doing here is more of an effect. It helps us to connect things, but really it's more of an effect. See, the damper pedal can easily be called an effects, special effects pedal. And the first line, we're going to put the notes down first and then the pedal. The idea is I want to start the sound before I release the dampers so that the sound just goes boom. Happens very quickly, but that's the effect. So in the third measure, the first line, you're here, note, then pedal. It just connects, it gives overtones. I'm going to lift the pedal then with the hands so we get silence before I go on. So it's here again. Lift it up with the hands. Now, if you would rather connect those two measures together, then you change pedal it here. So you're not hearing the rest in the right hand. So to hear the rest, now I got to change the pedal with the eighth notes on the last beat of that measure. Here. Lift up. But then it smears the eighth notes. Don't want to smear them. Although the pool is deep, we're underwater, you could smear it probably. But again, I'm just going to lift it up with the hands so we hear a little silence. Second line, same thing. Silent, lifted. And I consider the last note of the second line to be a pickup note to the melody. To hear. It's like the beginning of a phrase. So that curved line in the third line, that curved, that really should begin with the last note of the second line here, in my opinion. So if I do that, I'm going to lift the note, the pedal up with the third beat, or after the third beat. And this is the last measure of the second line. You're here. Lift up. So you're taking a breath there. The third line down, I'm legato pedaling the first two measures. They don't show that here. They want, well, I can connect it with the hands, but I'm still going to legato pedal both of those measures. Now I can lift up for the echo, and I'm going to pedal both of these measures. Here, I'm going to legato pedal all of that, and now I'm going to lift up with the hands to go on. So there's a little silence. Now in the last two measures at the bottom here, we have to change pedal here because we're changing harmony, but it should be a legato pedal, just up and down, not like what they're showing. It's here. Just hold on to that and then lift the pedal up with the hands, a little silence, and then pedal here. And you can just hold it down through all of that if you want, that's fine. You have to listen carefully to the effect the pedal is having. And do you like that effect? If not, change it. Ideally, you only pedal when you absolutely have to. So if you could get away with playing it without pedal and get what you want, then don't use pedal at all. Please don't copy me. It's one way of playing it. You get into the music. You feel the music. And, I haven't talked about interpretation for a while. I hope you add the natural accents. Add them. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Add in the natural accents on these two. And feel this as you're going through. Let's play it together slowly. And check all the notes and rhythms. I'm not going to do any dynamics. I'm going to play everything about the same. We're just checking notes and rhythms. I am going to pedal it as I suggested. And on the fermata, the notes with the holds, I'm just going to double the value of each because I got to stay with the metronome. So I'll give us 4 counts. 1, 2, ready, and go, and. Hold, go on, go on. Hold, 4, hold, 2, off.